Hey guys, it's Samson, and I watched a movie. I don't think I need to say the name, but if you haven't figured it out, the context clues yet, so let me just clue you in. I have been waiting for this exact moment that I'm talking about right now since 2015, when this IP was being reportedly handled by Warner Bros. And after waiting literally all those years, I can say that for me, it was worth the wait, personally. Now, before I get into it, some channel updates is I know that I was gonna do like another video right after one of my other videos in the just before that previous upload. Uh, the way I'm gonna phrase it is that there was a death in the family, literally the day of, and so call it laziness, call it what you want. I just wasn't feeling it at that point anymore, so I just held off on doing anything. Right now I'm feeling good again, and feeling better enough to tell you about this since it is the highlight of this week. All right. Personal updates is I had something I wanted to say a little bit ago, but I honestly just completely am blanking out on that completely. Any other miscellaneous things that I was gonna mention is that there will be what's it called? I remember. I keep bringing this up, but I haven't actually shown it yet. That remember, like in January, when I said that I made a mistake by doing a Halloween special and making it in January, expecting Halloween around the corner. I completely do not know why I figured that, but tomorrow I'm going to drop the teaser for what the Halloween special was all the way back in January, and then on the day of Halloween, not the night, the day of Halloween, I'm just going to drop the special, right? And then for November, I don't have anything planned for November. I do have something planned for December, and it's not necessarily a Christmas special. It's just a game I haven't done on the channel that happens to also take place in the snow. So I'm gonna call it a Christmas special. All right. Now, since listen, the past 3 days, what movie do you think has come out, and what movie do you think has people like excited and riled up? So before I go into this, right now is the no spoiler segment. All right, right now I'm just going to compliment some parts of the production that I liked while watching the film. The casting, listen, when we all saw that Matthew Lillard was leaked, like way back, and then we finally saw him in the trailer itself. I was stoked because most people were like, "Oh, it's Shaggy," and I was like, "Oh, I honestly completely forgot he played Shaggy." I was thinking, "Oh, it's like what was? It's not. His name is Steve. It was Stu. It's Stu from Scream, like the first Scream, right?" And I was thinking back to that. The acting. I didn't even finish cast. I'm not familiar with most of the main cast. The only actor that, like I said, that I am actually familiar with is Matthew Lillard. The other guys, I think I've seen like in segments of like TV or other shows and whatnot. But aside from that, they are mostly like completely new faces to me. So, and for that, I didn't have any like high expectations of them. And for that, I think they did a good job of what they had. All right. I like them. The acting is. We're not talking about like Shawshank's Redemption here. I think they fit into their roles very well. There is a couple times where it feels like something's off, but given the way movies are and given the way the director's cuts are, there was probably context that was just out. But I'm saying that just because I literally not this weekend, but a little bit ago, I went to the mall and I got a movie that was a director's cut version of a movie that I already have a DVD of. I just wanted to see the director's cut version, and even though it's longer and has a little bit more unnecessary scenes, for some of the times I was like, oh, that was weird. And now I was like, oh, that makes sense. And that's now going to be consistently in my mind throughout the rest of my life whenever I see like a movie. And like whenever the movie comes out flat, right? Like no true behind the scenes knowledge of any scene, cut scenes or cut like content or whatnot. That's gonna be in the back of my head. Well, what was cut, right? But Aside from that, from the final production, I think the acting was good. The set design was incredible. For Blumhouse, I've seen a lot of Blumhouse movies. I really do like that production company. I don't know about you guys, but when a long time ago, my dad and I went to go see The Invisible Man, and when we watched that movie, we were like, one, this is a cool idea on how to do an Invisible Man now, and I really liked it. I don't know about you guys, but I really liked it. I thought it was cool, right? The way they did it. Of course, it basically really was the way you'd think it was for special effects. Like a guy in a green morph suit just screwing with you, but I thought it was cool, right? The explanation for the way the suit works in the movie was fun. And, oh yeah, that scene of the rain where the Invisible Man's like walking through the rain. Like, oh, that was so cool. So I really like Blumhouse. Like, I didn't trust way back in 2015 when I heard that this, like, a movie was being handled by Warner Bros. I was like, I like some of their movies, but I don't think they can really do this type of movie. But when I heard that it was Blumhouse this time that was taking up action on it, I was like, okay, I trust these guys way more. Way more. And actually seeing the animatronics, like, if for the first time in the trailer, like when I first heard this was going to be, like, evolved into a movie, it made me think back, like way back in the day when I first heard that, I was like, I really do like the idea, but it made me also think of those, like, fan-made animatronics that people would make, and how they look good still, like, they still look good and were, like, well-designed and stuff, like, well-produced, but they didn't look accurate to the characters from the game. And actually seeing these animatronics on screen, they look so much better, and they actually do literally look like they are ripped from the game. And I thought, like, that's incredible. I honestly thought there was like it was one of those things where like in design wise it looks cool, but in execution it's hard to pull off. And there is a certain segments where you can very clearly see that they had to kind of do some trickery work with these things, but yeah, for the most part, like, it was good and it was like crazy to actually see these things on screen, and way more imposing than I thought they'd be. Like I don't know why, but for some reason in the game, whenever I saw them and whenever they're presented, I was like they can look scary, but they're like 5'11" or something. They look like 5'9", 5'10". But when you actually see them in real life and see how these things would actually look, yeah, they are imposing motherfuckers, like big, fluffy, tall. That reminds me of way back a long time ago when I was having a birthday at Chuck E. Cheese, sometime in the middle of elementary. I had just walked up to the stage where I can look at like a Chucky and just peer through like the curtain, and just seeing his big ass there was so creepy but so cool. It made me think of that. Alright, it was so cool. There's plenty of references. I think I'll get into that later. But I liked the reference. I don't know if anybody caught on to like well, actually no, I was gonna say something else, but I know that I didn't catch on to this, but other people pointed out to me, is the diner, and one of the diners in the movie is called Sparky's. I didn't catch on to that. I completely forgot about that FNAF myth from like the first game, right? And oh yeah, that brings me back to like sitting on the couch drinking like chocolate milk, just watching YouTube videos on like a tablet. Oh man, but I thought that was a pretty cool reference. I just also I do want to say that even though I did say that I just watched this movie, and I did just watch it this weekend, I actually watched it yesterday. Like depending on when this is uploaded, like a day or 2 days ago. So I had some time to think on it, and I also had some time to listen to other people and talk about and listen to their reviews and stuff. And also by this point, MatPat from Game Theory just did his video on the production behind the scenes, and I didn't even read the name card that he was wearing in the movie when he cameoed. And of course, well, that's actually spoiler. It's a cameo. Cameos aren't really spoilers in my opinion. For the twists in the movie that actually are like twists, I do consider those spoilers, and I'm gonna not harken to those right now. But for cameos, yeah, we knew Corey was in the movie. We knew. People said they saw Dako in the trailers. I'll be honest, I completely forgot what Dako looks like, and if he was in the movie, I didn't catch him. I also completely forgot that Markiplier was supposed to be in this movie, but he's doing Iron Lung right now, so he wasn't in it. So I was still sort of trying to look out for like a funny man with with occasionally red or blue hair with a big pink mustache. Didn't see him. I completely forgot about that he was working on something else. So, anything else? Oh yeah, Real World Context. I remember hearing a lot of people saying that the Rotten Tomatoes is out, like the critics hate it. Critics hate fucking everything, right? Critics just like to criticize. This is their job, granted. I know that a lot of people don't like negativity, but when your whole job is to basically be negative on something, I kind of do like to take a little bit of a listen to it, specifically because that's your job. And a lot of critics, a lot of the time, I feel either don't get certain messages, or they choose to overlook it for some stuff. Like, I don't know. Oh, like, I could get, like, the deep, like, messaging behind, like, the camera work, but it just looked ugly, so I just don't like it. Like, there's a lot of critics like that, but, for this movie, it seemed more like, where's all the gore, man? Like, what's with all this, like random lore stuff? And I understand that this is what killed a lot of movies, right? Especially adaptation movies, like Dune, like so let's see, Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a book, actually. It's called something else, but like movies like Dune, movies like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and stuff. Like there is a balancing act you do have to strike with either keeping movie audiences interested in the movie or keeping fans interested in the IP that is the new movie. And so it seems that this time they went more towards the fans. So if you're a fan of this IP and you've very likely been here since the beginning, you're gonna get a good laugh out of this, and you're gonna get like a good time out of it. But if you're like not that, you're not really gonna like it, I assume. And you know what? That's a small price to pay for Outsiders. But you know how we are about Outsiders. The conclusion for this is. This is the end of the not spoiler part, and now we get into the spoilers. And before we get into it, I do gotta say before, like, when the movie did come out, like within a millisecond, I already heard complaining of like, oh, this actually didn't keep up with like all the lore and stuff. This actually didn't keep with like this and that and this and that. I was like, dude, this made me think back of that meme I saw a bit ago when this movie was coming out, and it was like my face when everything we realized that we've learned and come to theorize about the FNAF lore is basically not at all confirmed by Scott and could all just be wrong. So, like, take it as you will. Listen, there is like common things that are just understood as in the community that we take as lore from the games, but I think the movie did a really smart decision by basically branching off and doing its own thing with keeping a lot of the main stuff the same, but doing remixes throughout, right? Like, there's a couple remixes that either was meant to be Scott's intention from the start, or is meant to be, like I said, just a remix of what we understand entirely. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good idea to basically do a clean slate and start building up from the ground up again, and I really enjoyed it. And if there actually is going to be a sequel greenlit, I'm going to see it. And it seems like this movie is building up to that sequel, which will then just branch off and basically just send everything going forward. But right now, we're going to get into the story summary, because I have a couple of things I want to say about the story. And like I said, if you haven't seen it, well, it's still in theaters. So, also, I forgot, I keep forgetting this is a thing nowadays, but as well as being in theaters, it's also on streaming services, so you can go watch that. Now, onto the actual story summary. So far, from what I remember, it begins with a. Here. Actually, here it is. It begins with a flustered security guard. Guess why he's flustered? And so this guy manages his way through a vent while hiding in his office that's barricaded, and in an attempt to leave the building, he unfortunately gets basically cornered, knocked out, strapped to a chair, and we just leave him there. All right, we can all surmise what happens. This is still a PG-13 movie. I'm gonna be. Let me just cut the story summary right here for the first part. All right. I know, right, that the FNAF games went from like kind of campy but still pretty serious to Security Breach, right? Like it actually is a really good parallel. Game Theory's channel went from like best boobs in gaming. I don't think that actually was best. It was literally a video on the Game Theory's channel. How to not how to. Was it really just called Best Boobs in the Game? I know that is the only video that I can surmise as to how I can identify fake boobs from real boobs. Literally, that's just the type of stuff that was on Game Theorists at the time. They cover Game Theorists back then used to be not tailored towards. I don't know why I was about to say tailored towards boomers. But just tailored towards like millennials and stuff, like people that grew up with like Mega Man, and people that grew up with stuff like just a lot of stuff from the '90s, like Mario, right? Like I grew up with Mega Man and Mario too, so that's how I was able to get into the channel at a very early age. But I do realize that right when FNAF started kicking off and getting popular, the videos had had a different tone to them. And that's also not only just because of just the direction the channel went, that is also because, rest in peace, the editor that, you know, I'm not going to say it, but the editor just not anymore. So, along with that, there's not only just a different tone in the channel, but also a different presentation to how it looks as well. So, that sends off as well. I'd say that is a very good parallel, and this is what I'm getting at. I know that the mainstream audience nowadays of FNAF is kids, like not really kids, like a younger teenagers to kids, like basically class of 2023 onwards is what this movie is mostly tailored towards, right? But if there was any way that I wish this movie could have just had like harkened more towards, it'd be like the FNAF VHS tapes, like if you're wondering what that is, you can just search it up on YouTube. It's basically just a bunch of like fans of the series that want to take their like the horrific aspects of the lore and essentially just bring it to life and actually depict the events that we only ever hear about and read about, right? And it is horrific in the best way, alright? And I was so hoping they would just change it from PG-13 to R, right? Like, I'm gonna be dead serious with you. I really wanted to see him kill those kids, alright? I understand, like, PG-13 is more profitable than R movies, and that's why... honestly, that's probably honestly one of the reasons why cinema just feels so dead. But, I know it's tailored towards towards the mainstream, but goodness, I just really wanted to see some kids scream, right? I really just wanted that. But for what we did get, I think it is very well executed. And one of the ways to do that is in the intro sequence. And this is what I said when I mean that this is tailored towards fans that know the games and know the lore, and not towards general audiences, because it starts with like with the arcade presentation, the way we got a lot of our clues and guesses back then from the dream sequences. There was just like basically an arcade ARG thing in the game, and so we see the yellow rabbit take the kids, and then all throughout as the intro goes on, and it just ends with the yellow rabbit turning back as he. I think it's meant to be implied that he gets discovered, or is being watched, and he turns back and he's like scowling at the camera, and then it just ends, right? So if you're not a fan, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck? I thought this was like about like a, I thought it was about like animatronic stuff. What is it, like a video game? What are we watching, Tetris? Like this is what I mean when I say it's not catered towards like general audiences. But for the rest of us watching this video, right? For the rest of us, you, me, and everybody else watching this video, we knew what was going on. All right, we knew the shit that was going down. Now, as for going on, test. Okay. Now, as for going on with the rest of the story, it basically starts with Mike Schmidt, right? Well, it actually doesn't start with Mike Schmidt. Like I said, it starts with a security guard that gets got, and then it goes to Mike Schmidt. And for the rest of us, we already knew who Mike is, but for the sake of it, the story does introduce him entirely. And right now, he's not actually a guard at the place that he's working security at a mall place, like just at like some mall. And what happens is that while he's like occupied, he sees a kid get picked up by a stranger and start being like escorted across. And out of fear that the kid is being kidnapped, he goes out of his way to leave his post, go right towards the guy, and beat him up in a well fountain. Now, we already saw that one scene a long time ago. Like way back when like all this stuff was being leaked in the beginning. We all saw that like a video that someone was taking of like the cameras filming for like the scene and like the two guys fighting in like a well, not a well, and like a water fountain. So this was that scene. I was expecting it to be a lot different, but this is that scene, and it leads into. I thought this was going to lead into something different, but instead it just leads into Mike's paranoia. Not paranoia, but Mike's failure, let's say, and we'll get into that later. But essentially, that gets him fired from his gig as a security for this big mall place, and he consults this guy. I am going to be completely honest. I forgot the name of the alias of this guy. So we're just going to call him Matthew Lillard. We're really just going to call the actor. So this sends Mike to go seek out help from Matthew Lillard. And essentially the guy's like, well, from your history, you don't have a very good track record of basically fucking anything. So we're just going to have a really hard time trying to get you anything. And Mike says, well, I'm really looking for just whatever is out there. Unfortunately for him, Matthew Lillard's like... that is a strangely hard last name for me to pronounce. Matthew Lillard is basically like, the only other thing I have is this gig at a security place. All you have to do is just watch it, maintain the building, and the hours are going to be mostly fine. Except they're not actually going to be fine. The pay's bad, the hours are bad, but it's something. It's also at night. And of course I have all the things, the fact that it's at night is what drives Mike away, and he's like, well, I'm going to sleep on it. So he goes home and then this is where we meet with Abby and the babysitter. I completely forgot the name. I was going to call her the babysitter. So Mike relieves the babysitter of her duty, and they converse with Abby. Abby's, of course, being occupied doing her thing, just drawing and stuff. This doesn't lead to like that well of an exchange. He gets upset at her, and then they just depart. And later on, throughout the day, he ends up going to a hearing. I don't know exactly where or what this is. I think it is just like some sort of elementary school they're just having this hearing at. But Mike is being confronted by the counselor I'm assuming the counselor, principal, whoever this is. I'm just going to call her the counselor. The counselor and his aunt and her lawyer. The aunt and the lawyer are claiming that Mike is unfit and unstable to raise his own sister and take care of her, so they're offering to alleviate this job off of Mike's back, and that they can take the sister, Abby. And basically, Mike is just sitting there, just letting them berate him, and then they just leave. The hearing's over, and then the counselor confronts him later on, and he's like, she's right, I really don't have that much going for me, and she doesn't even really like me. And the counselor's basically just like, give it time, probably go for any job you can and keep it stable so that it'll look better for your case in the court of law. So because of that, he later then takes up the offer that Matthew Lillard gave him and takes the job. So the first night, I was expecting this to be like the craziest part where like all the things just go off or weird. But I think the way they handled it works better for like the main just better for like the whole story going forward. So what happens is that he basically just goes there. He turns on all the lights, make sure everything's working order for like a. It's revealed later for a lot of things, but right now it's just like, whoa, why does it need to be in working order? Who cares? Just keep it in working order. And there's two little funny things references off the spot. So I was hoping and I was still curious if they were gonna do the phone guy thing. They did. Matthew Lillard himself is calling him on the phone on the drive over, not the drive over, but at home, and is played as he's like doing his job. And basically, in the context of the story, Matthew Lillard is the phone guy relaying instructions to him. And then when he's actually in the security office, he watches this tape that gives all the base instructions of exactly what he's supposed to do to maintain a place, except it just cuts off and he just leaves as it is. And he watches the cameras at one night. He just goes to sleep. Right? He's tired. He goes to bed. He wakes up. Actually, I think this was established a little bit before, but he goes to sleep and he keeps reliving this dream that he had of the night, not the night. I was going to say the night of the day he lost his younger brother. So it turns out that before Abby, there was a younger brother that he was supposed to take care of, but he failed, and that younger brother got kidnapped, and he just never saw him again. And the reason he keeps reliving these dreams is so that he can hopefully try to remember the face of who picked him up and who took him, because he believes that he did see who did it. For some reason he feels that his subconscious is blocking it to protect him, which is a thing that does happen. So he's basically reliving that, except this time, instead of just the dream cutting off at the part where the car departs with the kid inside, it's instead him confronted by kids and that are just surrounding him. And when he tries to talk to them, they scurry off. He chases after them, he trips over a rock, and he wakes up. Right? Now, once again, if you're a fan, you already know this, but if you weren't, you're like, what the fuck? What are all these kids doing? Why do they look like that, right? But even if that would be revealed later, that's just how general audiences are. But we knew who those are. If I'm trying to remember exactly what happens next, I think he just goes back. He goes back home. He alleviates the babysitter of her duties again, and the babysitter later on is confronted by the aunt, the same aunt that wants the daughter. And it's revealed that the babysitter is not, I was about to say an insurgent, an informant that is actually being hired by the aunt to try and dig up dirt on Mike, right? So, please tell me I was actually saying his name the whole time and keeping him right. Mike, the security guard, the main character. So her job is basically trying to dig up dirt on Mike for the aunt so that they can have actionable evidence to take the daughter herself, right, through the court, or just through authorities. Turns out she didn't get shit. So that pisses off the mom, and so they're like having a disagreement when the babysitter's brother is like, I got an idea. You want this guy to look bad in the court of law, right? So how about we just get him fired again? Trash his place, make him look incompetent doing his job. He gets fired, you get what you want, and we get to pay, and we get some pay. So that's their plan, and so that night again, when he has that dream, he wakes up. It literally does take place in 5 nights. So the title works. I'm just trying to remember which night is exactly what. The second night, he's back again. He's just doing the same thing, except once again he falls asleep on the job, and so he goes through that dream sequence again, all the way until the kids scurry. And so when the kids scurry, this time he's able to catch up to one of them, and and the kid cuts him with like a toy like hook, and so. First off, that's already an indicator of who that kid's meant to represent of who they're possessing. And then if I remember, Mike wakes up. He sees the cop at the front of the building, goes to her, opens the door to let her in, and she's already pretty cagey and just acting pretty off and weird. But she eventually lets herself in and explains a little bit of the history and says that, well, we all know that those kids are still here, with us in heart, with us in spirit, and inside of those monsters right there. she exactly say it. I wonder if that's because it's a PG-13 movie. But let's just say we all know where the kids are. We've been around this block before. So she basically just leaves him, and then he just goes home because he just finished his shift. And then right as he leaves, if I remember right, then those guys reappear again. They were planning to trash the joint, and now that he's leaving, they basically wait for him to leave so they can break in, and they start trashing the joint, right? And so they're smashing everything, breaking this and that, and then one by one, the gang gets picked off by the animatronics themselves. And I thought this was cool. Specifically, like the way they did it, it reminds me of the Terminator from Terminator 1, right? Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, because I still watch the movie every now and again, but the Terminator 1, of course, by the time Arnold Schwarzenegger gets like completely burnt, and like all the living flesh is basically burnt off, and that metal endoskeleton is like revealed. It is so creepy because it's physical, right? It's a literal thing that you know is made, and you can literally see with your eyes like it's real, right? And I love the way they did it in the first movie. So they had like I believe it was like 3 different types of puppeteering they did for the Terminator in that movie. There's of course stop motion parts when the full body of the puppet is on screen, when the full endoskeleton's on screen, and then there's 2 types of puppetry. There's the puppetry of the upper torso and the puppetry of the legs. And so primarily throughout the movie, you're going to see puppetry of the legs whenever they're moving. Otherwise, we have better technology now. It's the actual machines themselves, like turning around, running, and like not running, but looking at you and stuff. And I was expecting them to use CG. I don't think they did. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think there was a single CGI animatronic besides the cupcake. But I think all the animatronics were genuinely there the whole time. So one, that makes it creepier because I subconsciously, knowing it about the real fucking world, knows that holy shit, these things are real, right? They're literally in there with the actors, and I can believe it wholeheartedly. And secondly, it's even creepier that it's like these big machines, right? Because like the Terminator is like small and lean, and it's meant to like get through like space and whatnot. These things are huge. Like I said, thinking about that Chucky, from Chuck E. Cheese memory, like these animatronics are big, dude, and like seeing them in the hallways and stuff is so intimidating. And of course, all of them get got, even the babysitter. And the next day, Mike is confronted by Vanessa. I forgot to tell you the cop's name is Vanessa. I like that they canonically kept Vanessa like a blonde and white voluptuous girl, which is funny to me. It's funny to me because it's one of those things you don't think they'd keep canonical, but it is, and it's nice. And so Vanessa confronts Mike at his house, and they talk for a little bit because she's like, people broke in, this is not gonna look good on your record. And then he's like, well, I've been dealing with shit, and he tells her about the shit he's dealing with. And then she basically tells him to sober up because he's now he's caring for his sister, right? And so he doesn't. And the next night he goes to sleep again. By this time it's I think the 3rd night. Yes, the 3rd night, if I remember correctly. 3rd night, Abby is at home. No. I think Abby does go with him. Abby goes with him on the 3rd night, I think. And they basically just hang around for a bit until she wakes up in the middle of the night while Mike's asleep. And she goes towards the machines on stage, and they awaken. And so Mike awakes as well, hearing his like little sister screaming. And so he goes to go chase her. And then right at like the weirdest like juxtaposition in the movie, it turns out they're not trying to kill her; they're just tickling her. And I guess is it trying to convey that it is those kids inside the machines. They're just trying to have fun, just trying to be kids. And this still creeps them out. It creeps them out enough to basically just leave them alone. And so they just leave. And then the next night, he goes back again, except this time the cop is there. And she's already inside just looking at a wall of pictures. I'm sorry, of just a wall of like children's illustrations. And they're inside, and once again the animatronics are playful with Abby, and so Vanessa takes Mike into a different room alone. And so while the two are conversing, it's basically Mike basically confronts her and is like, "You being very cagey about a lot of key information I probably should know." And she basically is telling him he's not going to have it. They leave, and so Abby ends up getting, like, what's it called? Not struck by lightning, but just touches something, it's like zapped, wakes up, and then he's like, "Well, we're not doing this again." Leaves again, and right before she leaves, Vanessa's like, "Do not come back here or I'll kill you." It's the strangest, once again, the strangest juxtaposition of just tone. And then they just depart one last time. I think by that one, that was night 4. Yeah, the previous one was night 3. That one was night 4. Night 5 is once again when Mike's back there and he's I think sleeping again. This time it was already established in a different dream prior that the kids have supernatural abilities, and they were talking to him. They were like, "Well, you want something and we want something too, so we're gonna be able to work on that." And Mike was like, "Yeah, anything." And then he just disappeared. This time in the dream, they reappear again. And he's like, "Well, I know what you really want, Mike. You want to hang with your brother." And so, what they're basically offering is not information to help him find whoever kidnapped his brother, but basically trying to offer him like what's it called? I just had the word in my head. Bliss. Basically, just offer him bliss. That every night he can dream of an alternative memory where his brother was never taken, where every night he can dream of just hanging out with his brother one last time. And in the heat of the moment, Mike accepts this because it was like, because they were like, "Well, you can have this, and all we want is Abby." And so in the heat of the moment, he accepts, but with like only a little bit later, right? Like only a little bit later, he realizes how much he actually does care for his little sister. He's like, no, you guys are not going to do that. So they get pissed. They start cutting him in the dream. He wakes up with cuts all over him. And then they start going after him, like, actually. And so while they're going after him, he runs around and stuff. He finds the bodies of the other guys that got stuffed. I like that they kept that detail, that they didn't just kill him. They killed him, and then they stuffed him in, like, the suits in the back. Like, I thought that was pretty cool and a neat detail. He basically gets kidnapped again, strapped to this chair that killed the first security guard. This time he's able to escape, and right before he escapes, Vanessa comes in and saves him. By this point, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that as soon as they got home after the 4th night, they awoke, and Mike was basically going to give away Abby to the aunt since he sees it as Abby would likely be better off and safer with the aunt than himself. Abby didn't like this, and so that night when Mike gets saved by Vanessa, we cut back to the house where I just ate, I'm so burping. Where Abby is basically drawing her attention out of her room and to basically Fredbear. I know it's Golden Freddy. I'm going to call him Fredbear because I think that's still the continuity right now. So basically Fredbear comes out, lures Abby out and into a taxi where we see Corey. Yes, I know we saw Matt Pat in the dining area, and I know that was completely unnecessary, but it was still pretty funny to hear him say, "And that's just a theory," and then he gets cut off and just sent off. Right? That was cool. Corey had 2 cameos in the movie, this one and one in the post credits, and that was really cool to see. So he's basically just the taxi driver that drives her and Thing all the way to the establishment, and then when they're there, Abby makes it to the front door, Fredbear disappears. I still don't think I understand the movie lore as to what exactly is going on there, but Abby just makes her way inside, and then she starts playing with the animatronics again. And this time she is lured away by Chica to just go somewhere. But prior to this, Mike awakes in a different room with Vanessa there, and I think I don't know what she said, like some sort of like, I don't know, like CIA black site, but just a cop site where they just have like a storage room, which is guns and stuff. And so basically, she tells him everything. Turns out she already knew who the guy who killed her. His brother. Yes, it is. His brother was revealed to be killed. Who killed his brother, and that the guy that did it is her dad. And she shows a picture, and I picked up on it. I don't know, like I was watching this for family. They didn't seem to pick up on it, but I'm so glad everyone else in the theater, everyone else in like a YouTube did. She's holding, in the little photograph he shows him of like years ago, back when the establishment was still open. She shows him a picture of William Afton. Right, William Afton in the suit with her as a young girl with that same little toy plane that his brother had in his hands and it was taken away that day. Oh, that is so creepy. That's so creepy and it's so weird. But with all these new revelations, he's basically like, you know what, screw this. I'm gonna go get my sister. I'm gonna go save her. And so Vanessa basically says, I'm gonna stay back. I'm not gonna be a part of this at all. And so he leaves, goes all the way back to the establishment, and fight. I was expecting this to be a lot more detailed and fun, but it's fine the way they did it. He basically just tases all the animatronics with like tasers, and which I guess we could finally figure out what that was, right? Like all these years, we were like, "Is that was the purple guy holding a phone or some sort of jack when he was breaking the animatronics in that game? Maybe it was just a taser. Maybe it really was just a taser the whole time." So he basically just tases the animatronics. They go to sleep. He gets his sister. Right before they make it out the entrance, William Afton himself shows up. Matthew Lillard. Finally get to see him as Springtrap in this like really decrepit, really cool suit. I was curious how they would do the spring lock idea in practice, like in reality. I think it looks cool as hell, right? I think it looks really fucking badass. And so he comes out and he basically taunts him. They have a little kerfuffle. Basically, Vanessa does end up coming out and tries to stop him. She gets got immediately by like a knife. But Abby and Mike draw the animatronics' attention to an illustration Abby makes, where it depicts what William Afton actually did to them, which was kill them. And so, realizing who they actually are, that they actually are just murdered kids, they realize what happened. They turn on him in like that final depiction in game, and they turn on him. His spring locks go off, killing him basically. Well, killing him as of now. And so they drag him off like way off to like some sort of like decrepit wing. And so Abby, Mike, and Vanessa just all leave. And then we just cut to a little bit later. Vanessa's still in the hospital. Mike and Abby are hanging out in like their house eating dinner. And then it ends with a very cool and very accurate depiction of William Afton just in the corner, just shaking and dying, as like the little kid slowly closes the door and then the movie ends. I thought this movie was so cool. That's the end of the summary, but I thought this movie was so cool. And there's like a lot of cool scenes in my opinion. One of my favorites is when the child of Foxy, like the kid that inhabits the Foxy animatronic, gets upset, and when he goes to possess the robot itself, the way they do it is the kid walks up on stage to where Foxy is, disappears behind the curtains, the eyes of the robot glows, and then the robot itself comes out of the shadows. That was so cool the way they did that. And like I said, all of the scenes with the way they actually move the robots throughout the scenery, I thought was done so well. Like, I do not believe there was CG used at all for the animatronics. Like, I can actually believe wholeheartedly that they were there and walking around and stuff. Even if it was puppeteering, it still looked really cool. Any other here? And that so far is what I enjoyed, especially the remixes. Now, from the lore that we got over the years, and a lot of stuff is still contested, but right now what's mostly contested is what we're still figuring out, and not what we have already figured out, right? But one of the things that was still is being figured out is who Mike was in the games, and it was. I've heard the theory, and I personally like the theory that Mike Schmidt was actually Michael Afton, right? The son of William Afton, right? And like I said, they changed. They do like a lot of remixing for the movie. Like I said, it's a clean slate basically for the movies, because in the game lore, all that stuff still happens, except the time that William Afton becomes Springtrap is way later. The first game takes place in the 90s. If I was to guess, after the events of the first game, then William Afton becomes Springtrap and gets locked in that closet for basically years, right? And then after that, we get a FNAF 3. So, I like that they remixed it so that his death happens now. And I like that they remixed it that his child is not Michael Afton and his other son. That his child is Vanessa, which is the newest character in the game added from Security Breach. I don't remember, is Abby a name in the game, and a name in the lore? I'm trying to remember. I don't think so. I remember Elizabeth. I don't remember Abby per se. But listen, I thought the remixes they did for the lore in the movie was cool. I don't think there was any other new things aside from just the cupcake being its own entity for some reason. I thought that was funny. They strangely made the cupcake one of the most terrifying things in the movie, that they really could push this thing to an R rating. If there was anything that was going to push this movie to an R rating, it was going to be the scenes with the cupcake, which is just really funny. But that was what I liked. What I didn't like was the runtime. I'm not going to say it's too long. I feel like it was a little shorter than it probably should have been. If there was a way to explain how this would have been done properly, is like Oppenheimer. Like, Oppenheimer gets a lot of stuff in, but it does it all within its runtime, and it works, right? Even though it is a longer movie, it doesn't feel like that. This movie feels like it's being paced well, and at the very end it feels like a little rushed towards to just end it, right? I thought that it could have had a little bit of a slower ending. I kind of don't like that the animatronics had a shift in tone to make them seem nicer. That felt a little strange. I was like, when I was watching the movie, I was creeped out by these things. They made them look creepy. Like, they made them feel creepy, they made them look creepy. And after that scene where they became friendly, I was like, now you're gonna have to try to find a way to make them creepy again, man. I think they kind of did by making them antagonistic to them specifically, and not just antagonistic in general, but antagonistic to them specifically. Then that made them like a threat again, in my opinion. But my paper. There we go. My closing statements are: I have waited for this since 2015, and I am so glad I finally saw it. Like I said, if there is a second movie, if there is actually one that's greenlit and that does come out, I will watch it completely and wholeheartedly. Me and the family have been waiting for this for years, and it is finally here. We waited, and it's good. I liked it. It's good if you're a fan, right? It's really good. It's really good if you're a fan. If you're not, then I guess you didn't enjoy it. But aside from that, I'm gonna say that I recommend this if you've been with this from the start. Otherwise, if you want to get into it, watch. I was doing a marathon prior to this movie coming out of every single game theory video since the beginning to the end. Too many, alright? Too much stuff gets shifted throughout the lore to really get anything. Plus, there's less that gets remixed anyways. So if there's any way I specifically would recommend to get into the lore before watching the movie, if you want, would be Wendigoon's channel, where he breaks down the lore from what was understood and he gives his own take on it. And I think that is the best and most nuanced version thus far that you can watch in like one video. It's a long video, but it's a good one. So I hope you guys have a good day. I've been having a great day. I've been having a good day since I watched the movie. I am satisfied. I enjoyed it. Critics are going to always just be having a stick up their ass for every reason they want. Personally, my ass is clean. I hope you guys have a good day. I had one, and I'll see you guys later.